what's going on? How's it hanging? How's it happen? You guys notice this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. Project MSO TD Rock, so rock, metal, thrive. Hey guys, happy Tuesday. It is December 7th, and yes, I'm feeling old. I am 27 years old right now, and I'm just a scene kid, I guess. Well, I mean, if you want to put it that way. I'm still podcasting, talking all these bands that are incredible in the scene. So I've got another great band, another great podcast coming for you today. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. First is Phoenix Fitness. Podcasters, podcast listeners, you guys know when it comes to mosh pits and concerts, there's no stopping me. I never want to leave a mosh pit early because I am just that nuts. I love them, and I don't want to miss out on anything, especially after the pandemic. So to be in those mosh pits, I have to make sure my stamina, top-notch, cardio game, top-notch, strength, top-notch to be able to, deliver the hits, handle the hits, and stay in there for as long as possible. So I hit the gym all the time, constantly running, biking, Stairmaster, everything, and then lifting weights like a madman to make sure that I'm all good for this stuff. But I have to make sure I prepare and recover right. That's where Phoenix Fitness comes in with different pre-workouts, both stim and sim-free. I use the sim-free stuff because, as you can tell from this podcast, I am energy up the wazoo, and I don't need any extra stimulation in that sense. When it comes to other things they provide, they have different B-stability recovery compounds. They have different proteins for your AM, PM, after workout. They even have plant-based proteins, creatines, multivitamins, whatever you might need to help achieve your fitness goals. Phoenix Fitness has you covered. Our listeners get 15% off through the code MSOTD at fnxfit.com. Link description below. Also want to thank Custom Debuts. So Christmas is right around the corner. If you're looking for one hell of a gift to give to the music lover in your life, and you know what their music tastes like, check out Custom Debuts. They create these custom posters, whether it's on your classic poster paper or whether it's on something like canvas or even aluminum. And what they'll do is they'll take whatever artist you want and whatever album or whatever song you want and create a custom poster around that album or around that song specifically for your music lover friend, family member, whoever it might be. So the cool part about it is when you submit something like that to them, they will come back to you in 40 hours with a proof of what they think, of a cool thing that you might like. And then you have as many revisions as possible until you give yes to the final product. So you can make it the way that you want to make it. Isn't that awesome? That is awesome. So for the music lover in your life, be sure to check out Custom Debuts. Our listeners get 10% of the code CPP10 at customdebuts.com. Link is in the description of the podcast, so go check that out. So thank Custom Debuts. Now on to our feature presentation. So this band, Bullet to the Heart. Ooh, yeah. Their brand new album, Transcendence, is out now, and we talk about the album, how they wrote the album, especially through the whole entire pandemic thing, what the album really is about, and we go so deep in their single that came off it called Decay, that was right before the album came out, that it will literally knock your socks off, and, well, you're going to want to stay in touch with this band. Trust me. You're going to want to check out Transcendence, but do so after you listen to this podcast, baby. So are you guys ready? Enough with me rambling on. Let's get to the interview. Let's go! Oh, yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. Do you like, hard rock, alt metal? You like something that's going to really hit you in the heartstrings? Well, like a bullet to the heart? I wonder why I said that, because we have a great band on the podcast today. Their brand new album, Transcendence, is out once you're listening to this podcast. So hell yeah, make sure you go listen to it. But enjoy this podcast first then. So please welcome Audrey and Draven from the band Bullet to the Heart. So guys, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
Hell yeah. What's going on?
Oh, not much, man. Just glad to have you both in the podcast. How's everything going in your neck of the woods or in your area of the United States during this day and age?
Super busy, but just trying to get ahead of the game. Doing a lot of prep work for the CD.
Sounds about right, because you guys are gonna have the CD release, the album release, and then you've got a month and a half after the release for the rest of 2021 to get something going. Then all of a sudden 2022 is already here. Just get rolling with whatever the heck you guys are gonna do. More promotion of the album, live show wise. It's just kind of like the preparation point at this time, right?
Yeah, it's definitely one thing after another. That's how it's been the last couple months. It's been because we released 5 singles off this album. So it was single 1, single 2, single 3. It was like video, recording, whatever, just, crazy shit.
Just nonstop. But hey, especially, from the past, let's say year and a half, almost 2 years that we've had, especially with the pandemic, what else is there going to be able to do? Work hard and make it happen. That's basically what you had to do at this point.
Yeah, that's kind of what we did, man. We wanted to tour more because we started officially touring nationally in 2019. And during the pandemic, everything got shut down. We had 2 tours cancel. And we just started writing music, and we wrote music. I met up with my guitarist twice a week for like 9 months, just banging out demos and songs.
Dang. I mean, when it comes to hard working, I mean, that pretty much says it all right there when it comes to really working on music, working on, like, if you're working with your guitarist 2 times every single week for 9 months straight, you're bound to come up with like a shit ton of demos that you're able to build off of, work on, and then send to the rest of the band and just let that roll.
Yeah, it was definitely a grueling process, but it was also like rewarding because like we definitely got to like buckle down and like work on music, like work on actual music. It wasn't just like, oh, this sounds cool, throw it together. It was like, no, let's do this, rework it and change it, see how she feels about it because she's got a right to it. And there was a lot of like it was definitely like a communication building experience.
Well, it would have to be, especially at this point. But then again, let's go back to, again, the pandemic when you guys are working on this stuff, writing this stuff. One of the biggest things you had was time, because when it came to touring, go back to 2020. I mean, I remember like August and September, I'm just itching to go and see a live show, and there was no live show in sight. So when it came to just any kind of music or anything that a musician that would have been working on, it had to have been music at that point, or promotion, which, I mean, you have to do both at that point, but you didn't have all those distractions of having to go out and tour or pressures to put out an album during that time. It's, everyone's kind of shut in. Why not just go to work and just go nuts?
Yeah, no, and that's what we did, man. I mean, like you said, it's there's a lot of distractions. I mean, a lot of times we're itching to play shows so much that the single can wait, the video can wait, stuff can be pushed back, and it's like with the pandemic, everything was off. We were like, hey, what are we gonna do? And it was like, well, we're gonna work on some music. That's what we're gonna work on. So we did a lot of stuff in house, and then we sent it over to our guy, who just kind of mixed and mastered it all, and it just kind of worked out.
Just kind of worked out. I mean, I've talked to a large amount of bands, and they have a very similar story to you where it comes to, the pandemic hit, worked real hard to really create some new music so that, when touring is able to come back, guys are able to go back out in full force and really capitalize on, make up for those 2 tours that you got canceled on in 2020. Damn you, COVID. Still going to, shake my fist at that like an angry old man yelling at a cloud. Because why not? But again, it gave everyone the time to write music, but really focus in on what they want to do and not just, throw something together under a time pressure, like in some kind of just, I have to get this done by this deadline. No, you had all this time and all this distraction time to just focus on that. And I'm not going to lie, when it comes to a lot of other bands I've heard, including yourself as well, with the music you've come out with, it's the quality I've been seeing is just incredibly high because of that. And when it comes to Bolts of the Heart, it really fits in with that high quality standard that I've seen, especially with releases in 2021.
Well, first of all, thank you. And I mean, I agree. I mean, there's a lot of cool music that has come out during this time, with a bunch of different bands. So it's been pretty crazy.
It's been crazy, but I've been loving every single minute of it. It's like, I kind of don't want it to stop with just all this incredible music coming out. Like, come on, I'm just like, feed me more.
Yeah, I feel like every Friday, because that's like the kind of like industry standard for music releases. Every Friday there's something new. And it's like, I got Spotify Premium. So like every Friday it's like, hey, new song. And I'm like, well, it doesn't hurt to check out, right? So there's a lot of new music and new bands that I found just during this time. So it's pretty cool.
It's been one hell of a time. I mean, finding all those new bands too, it also has to help with your music as well. You're finding new bands that you're picking up on certain things on. You're finding new things that you like, different influence that come in your music, mix in there to really bring out, some more power and some of the things that you might be talking about in some of these songs.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's been something that's been absolutely fantastic. It's been just increasing, especially when it comes to anything rock and metal and the subgenres around there, just increasing the quality of music that we're seeing put out.
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's the light in the darkness is what it is.
Yeah, went through all that freaking darkness, and all of a sudden now we're seeing the light with all the incredible music and live shows back again, and just yes.
Yeah, I'm really, really hoping 2022 is what it's cracked up to be. You know what I mean?
I mean, I hope so too, just because I'm just already seeing, all these crazy tours that are still getting announced. I'm just like, come on, please keep coming my way, or come anywhere within like an hour and a half to 2 hours of me, because I want to see as many of this as possible. It's literally going to be like the Futurama meme with Fry. I'm just going to be like, take my money now.
Take my money, yep.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what's going to be. So, Audrey, a quick question for you. So, when these guys are working on these demos and like all these different things they're coming up with, what's it like when they were setting this up to you, when you came to, writing the lyrics and writing the vocals over top of these to really make sure that all the instrumentals that they were working in, the vocals that you had, and the message you wanted to portray in these songs really all connected?
So as they were sending the songs to me, I usually listen to it a couple of times and I let the song kind of speak to me. I let it kind of tell me what it wants to be written about. It is very frustrating at times, I'm not going to lie. There are some demos sent over and I spend months and months and months listening and I'm like, I just can't get anything to this. And we'll sit down and we'll have a conversation and he'll say something or trigger a topic and I'll kind of roll off of either lyrics or ideas. We kind of just like bounce ideas off of each other and he'll give me like a simplistic version or like a roundabout idea and then I'll take that and kind of run with it. But sometimes it just doesn't run, and that's what happened while we were writing. Like a lot of the songs just didn't run and we had to keep going back to the drawing board and we were getting frustrated because like I was like, I don't like that, I don't like that, I don't like that. And they were just like, well, what can we do? Like, what do you want? Like, they were sending me demos. They were like, what do you want to be taken out? What do you want to be added? And
yeah,
I
it was like,
I don't know.
It was like, do you want something heavier? Do you want something more feely? Like, and she was like, I don't know. I just want good music.
I didn't really know because like I write about everything under the sun. So I was just trying to like touch on topics that kind of hit close to home, but also like what was going on. And it's a nerve-wracking process, but it got done because we have an album.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say it definitely got done because you got an album. But one thing that you said that really speaks to, I think, something that I consistently say is when it comes to writing lyrics around music, and especially when the rest of the band is creating something, you let the song speak to you, because when it comes to the way instrumentals are written, and especially in my mind, it really is the foundation of the kind of the storytelling of emotion, because we're constantly just relating certain things with certain sounds emotionally. Like, especially when we'll get into Decay a little bit more, but when you bring the piano in there, it just adds this much deeper emotional connection, especially with the tone, because whenever a lot of people hear those tones, especially from piano, it hits with us in more of an emotional, personal state. So letting the music really speak to you, to really let yourself just kind of get immersed in it and then write around that, it really lets everything flow so much more naturally, especially when it comes to the end product and comes to us, the listeners, and really get deep into it. So when it constantly comes to just, you're not sure what you necessarily want to go with when they're saying the demos, what to change, what to add, what to subtract. I mean, it can get a little frustrating at times, but it does work out well in the end, because you're going to end up finding something that really connects with not only you guys that are writing the instrumentals around it, but also with Audrey writing the lyrics and the vocals over the top of it, so everything comes together as one whole cohesive unit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's really just kind of like I said, during that process, it's really like fine-tuning and figuring out what works, when it works. Like, I feel like timing's a huge indicator for that, because like if she's in a certain kind of mood, you don't want to give her the other one. You know what I mean? Like, there were definitely times where it was like, let's do something heavy and new. Let's do something slow. Let's do something mean. Let's do something aggressive or slow or meaningful. And it's like, there's a lot of like personal stuff that went on during that time. So it was like, how do you wrap that around doing this as like a business as well? You know what I mean? Because it's like, you want the song to be good. You want it to be relatable, but you also want to have yourself involved in it,
Oh, absolutely. And especially as during this time as well, one thing I keep seeing is a lot of artists have leaned into what was going on and leaned into the emotions of what was going on, especially over the past year and a half, because all of us have went through it, but all of us felt very differently about some of the things that had been going on. Might have been just the way that, your mind is wired, different viewpoints that you have, different mindsets that you have. So a lot of it I've seen a lot of bands just really lean into just, what was going on, the emotions that you felt, and really writing music around that. And even if it's sometimes, get using as an escape, like I'll use the Ice Nine Kills record as an example. Yeah, it's all based around horror movies, but it was one hell of an escape just away from reality. And listening to the album, I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking awesome. But then there's a bunch of other bands out there that wrote, more personally, wrote more about what was going on, more of the emotions that are around there. And it still really connects and gives us more of this historical, emotional text when we listen to these songs that have been coming out since then to really understand what we felt during that time, what was going on during that time in our minds and the emotions that were surrounding everything.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That was a hard one because like we didn't want to be too cliche about certain things, but it's really hard to, like she said, like it's really hard to put things in a word sometimes. So like I'm not a writer, like a lyric writer at all. So I would give her this basic thing of like how I feel or how the situation is feeling, and she'd be like, "Oh, I got the words for it." And that's something that she's really good at.
Well, yeah, and that's like important because I'm not only writing songs like from my perspective. I want the instruments, the people that wrote the instruments, to hear their sides of everything and also try to convey their emotions because it's not just a one-man band. I have 3 other people. So I really like to thoroughly listen to them and their thoughts because I want to convey myself, I want to convey them, and I want everybody to relate to that as well.
That just kind of speaks more to the chemistry you all have as a band because specifically what you said, Audrey, when it comes to really trying to portray these emotions, portray these stories so that everyone in the band relates to them in some way. It's really taking a look at where the song is leading to, where the message of the song you want to go with, but how this core emotion of the song is really going to take hold because when we listen to songs, especially from all different viewpoints, we all end up relating to them in so many different ways because we've gone through different things. We're from different places. We have different backgrounds. We've experienced so many different things. So we're going to relate to them in different ways. But where we all come together with these songs is where that core emotion is. So if everyone in the band is able to relate to that core emotion, instrumentally, lyrically, vocally, us as listeners, we're going to be able to do the exact same thing.
Yeah, and that's something I just love about doing music. Like everybody, whether it's a small show or a big show, everybody's there for one reason. You know what I mean? And it's their own personal reason, but like we're all there together. And that's something that like COVID kind of took from us for a while. It was like, I don't get me wrong, I love releasing music videos. I like seeing those views go up, but it's like there's nothing like playing in front of a crowd and hearing the stories and watching people give it their all. Like that to me is something unmatched,
Oh, absolutely. Like when I finally got to go to my first show, like really full show since the pandemic hit, I still remember it was like, okay, band goes on. I'm like, okay, let's just see what happens because I'm not sure if anyone's going to be weary or anything. All of a sudden, just full on mosh pit started within the first 5 seconds. And I just smiled. Yeah. I'm like, I am a home, and just literally went into there head first.
Yeah. One of our first shows that we attended when everything came back was Dance Gavin Dance in Vale of Maya. And during the slow songs and the intros, people were just moshing. Yeah. And it was funny because you had like Tillian, who, the vocalist, comes on stage and he goes, wow, nobody's ever moshed to that intro before. Because the intro just started, people were like, yeah, I get it. And it was like, dude, we didn't start yet. People needed a lot loose, man. That's what was needed.
The same thing happened with me. With all of a sudden, it was like that show I went to. So it was in at the West Chicago Social Club in West Chicago because it was I think it was Victims had their release show for their album.
Oh yeah.
And Sleepwaker was right about to release their album, and they were opening it for that show. And I had one of the guys from Sleepwaker on the podcast, so I wanted to go see him play live. I'm like, this is my first show. Literally the whole entire time. I mean, this crowd is moving consistently. People are going in their head first. No care in the world. But of course, after every single song, everyone's giving each other high fives, hugging each other. A couple people were crying because it's like, we finally got back to this. It was such this powerful, emotional thing that we were all back in this. That family moment is there because we all relate so positively to the music, to some of the bands that are there, and to the sounds that we hear that when we get in that moment, we can come from all different places. We can have all different perspectives on life. But in that moment, we are just all one big family that's just happy to be there.
Yeah, and that's something I love, man.
It is a beautiful thing. So, I mean, unfortunately, like you said, you guys had 2 tours canceled because of the pandemic. Again, shaking my fist at a cloud like an old man. Damn you, pandemic, because I feel like I still can. But do you guys have, more live shows coming up now, especially now with the new album out and the pandemic kind of, socially seizing in a way where tours are happening and live shows are just kind of going full force once again, thankfully?
So we had a couple shows already this year, and we actually just played our last one in Wisconsin. So we're done for the year. It's time to go back to kind of into hiding and prepare for next year. But next year, I can't release anything yet, but we're going to come back touring.
Well, two things for that. One is, thank God you guys are coming back and touring. I understand if you can't say anything because it's not fully announced yet. Totally understand that. Second one is, your last show was in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
Where?
Wausau.
Okay, because I was about to say, if it was close to me, I was going to be really, really mad at myself that I did not attend that show. But yeah, Wausau's a little bit out of the way.
So. Were you at Milwaukee?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's pretty deep in there. Yeah, it was the Pollock Inn.
Okay.
So it's this cool little lounge place. So I'm friends with the drummer of one of the bands, and he kind of promoted the show and booked us on it. And he did a great job at getting a bunch of people hyped for us. So we just threw down, we played a set, played some of the new stuff, sold some CDs, met some great people, and we're like, all right, that's our unofficial album show, and we're going back. We're done.
Well, I mean, if you guys had one hell of a show for your last show for the year, and then having that as like your album release show with that kind of a response and that kind of a crowd, oh yeah, you guys won that one for sure.
Yeah, it definitely felt good, man. I mean, I like hometown shows, don't get me wrong, but sometimes being out of the element, you just kind of throw down harder,
Just kind of just like, okay, we got to show them what we got, and all of a sudden just go nuts. And then, of course, you're going to see people like us in the crowd just go absolutely ape crazy. See someone like me break a finger in a mosh pit, then just be like, just tape it up, let's keep going.
Yeah, put some duct tape on it. That's why you carry it with you.
Yep, that's pretty much all I do is like, okay, just tape this up. It's like, okay, you might need to go to the hospital. Yeah, tomorrow. See you guys. I'm back in. Woo! But that's just the way it is. So I also want, jumping a little bit more into Transcendence, because of course that's the new album you guys have coming out. One thing I was looking at when I was going through kind of like the press release I could see on the band and really trying to find out about the band, one thing I've seen is that you guys are writing music to help others through issues that challenge them, such as like mental illness, addiction, personal identity. When it comes to Transcendence, was that, especially a huge topic when you're writing this album, lyrically and meaningfully and, instrumentally as well, especially, of course, what we'd all gone through during the pandemic and how a lot of these were essentially heightened because of the fact that we couldn't really socialize. Human interaction was pretty much at an all-time low at this point. So was this a real big topic that ended up really working its way onto Transcendence?
Absolutely. We definitely wanted to end this series we had 3. So we started off with the first album, Bulletproof, which is very hard-hitting, angry, classic hard rock, just I'm mad at the world. Went into Trials and Tribulations, which was actually going through the trials, growing from it. And we wanted to end with Transcendence, which is just transcending beyond oneself and finally learning from all of the pain, all of the suffering, everything that's been going on, and just realizing that there's more to this life than what we're like delved into, and just working on ourselves from within so that we can outwardly. There was so much hate during the pandemic, and it was so sad. So it definitely like going into yourself and healing yourself so you can outwardly love others. I think we need to get back to, I think Gemini syndrome says it best, everybody love each other. I mean, so it definitely played a huge, just watching that, just watching everybody just go to town on each other. It was very sad. And I wanted to convey that message of like, we're all the same, we all bleed the same blood. We're all just souls in a body. I mean, at the end of the day, everybody should just love each other. We should not attack each other and be at odds like this. It's very sad.
It's not only sad, but it's very unhealthy because we've seen, especially some of the things that really happened due to certain things with, a heightened sense of hate and a heightened sense of kind of intolerance towards a lot of other people that have really showed during this time. I mean, not only just, maybe within your inner circle, but also on a national scale, worldwide scale. We saw it all over the place. And one thing that we did note, one thing that we kind of looked at was, especially in the pandemic, we all kind of went through something similar in a sense that when the pandemic hit, all our lives got basically upended in a certain way. So in a sense, we all have these different qualities to ourselves, but we all kind of are the same, and we all go through the same things at times. So it kind of just speaks more to really creating more of that sense of humanity once again within ourselves and within the people that are around us, along with everyone else that's in the world.
Yeah, I definitely feel just kind of going off of both topics there. I definitely feel like people don't understand that like we're all on this rock together. And sometimes if you throw a pebble a certain way, you're affecting other things. You know what I mean? Like the littlest thing that gets put out in the universe, whether it's on social media or whatever, it can affect a lot of stuff. And people don't really think about that sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and a lot of times it's the focus is on the negatives of that as well, because a negative thing is put on there, and you know, it's human nature. We tend to focus so much more on the negatives than the positives. So it's like every time, if something positive keeps coming out and people keep putting out positivity, that's great. But it's like that one negative thing happens and all of a sudden it's everyone's mind just focuses in on that. And then it grows and grows and grows because you're so focused in on that, where the positivity around it just doesn't necessarily happen. But if it's the positivity is overwhelmingly, kind of coming over it, that negativity, then people are more connected to each other in an emotional way. People feel more free to talk to each other. People feel more happy to kind of go out and socialize. It's something where, the negativity separates us, it divides us, it kind of secludes us, but that positivity ends up bringing us together, and really trying to bring that forward on this album really does a lot of help to really portray the difference between, what we had gone through actually with all the different things going on through social media, hate, whatever it might be, to really kind of bringing back more of that positivity, that connectiveness, and that emotional connectivity from one person to another.
Yeah, and there's definitely there's a lot of different vibes on the album as well. So I mean, we kind of touch a lot of different topics, and some of the topics can be interpreted in multiple ways. But I feel like especially like in Decay, the most recent one, like you're kind of connecting with the audience there, like the one lyric is, "I'm just like you, decaying from the inside." So it's like, you're kind of mentioning like there's other people going through this. It's not just one person, you're not alone no matter who you are.
Oh, absolutely. Again, the pandemic really showed that once again, we all kind of went through the exact same thing in terms of isolation, seclusion, because of all these different shutdowns, and then a bunch of other stuff that ended up happening as well. But using that line in Decay as well, "I'm just like you, decaying from the inside." A lot of us have gone through certain things, especially when it comes to a mental or emotional standpoint as well. We've all gone through certain things where, it feels like the people that we are truly on the inside kind of are decaying away, because these certain things are really trying to pull us into other things that are going to make us be people that we aren't necessarily at our core.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, again, because I dove deep into the song, and I was taking a look at different things from perspective. So I got to ask, when it comes to Decay specifically, when you were writing the song, when you're figuring out, where the song's going to take you, what was the overall meaning behind it? Because I saw what the press release said, but before I looked at what the press release said, I went through it myself. I listened to it, I'm like, I got to figure out the meaning for myself. And afterwards, I kind of feel like I was a little bit like in a different space, but kind of like a little bit of like a connective space same time too. But again, all depends upon perspective of what I've gone through when I listened to it. So got to ask, when it came to Decay, what'd you really write the song about? What's the meaning behind it?
So for me, the meaning was, a lot of it kind of tied. I was starting a kind of like a new friendship with someone who's down in Florida. She's going through a really wow.
Don't stuff the wall.
That's
there.
why we don't throw water bottles. Just leave it. Anyway, I was kind of building this relationship with her, and she was going through a lot of stuff. She's going through a transition phase at the moment. And there were a lot of times where I felt like we weren't on the same ground. And then I kind of thought, how could I scale this to where people could really feel this? And I thought, well, everybody has that somebody where you're always having a back and forth with them. You always want to relate to them, but at the same time, you feel like you're a burden to them. And you don't realize that they're feeling the same way. And so in the verses, that's what I was trying to kind of convey was, that I hear your cries, I'm slowly killing you, you're slowly killing me. But at the same time, we're just here to help each other. And it comes together in the chorus where it's like, I won't fear when I'm the one who's lost, because, we're both lost. But we're both the same. We're both decaying from the inside. I wanted my audience, my bloodline members, my fans to know, like, no matter what you're going through, I am here for you. And I'm just a message away. Like, I have so many of our fans in hard times reach out to us, and we're always texting them, we're always talking to them. Like, anytime our fans need us, we are there. So I wanted to solidify that in this song. Like, no matter what happens, reach your hand out, I'll catch you. Like, my hand is there no matter what you need. Middle of the night, middle of the day, wherever, I will always be here for you. So that's what I wanted to convey with that.
That's an incredibly powerful thing to convey. And I should say this. If you're looking for another band that does something like that as well, to really kind of find another band that connects like that, you should check out the band Dying Oath. I've had them on the podcast before. I saw them at Blue Ridge, and we talked about a lot of this because they feel the exact same way that Decay really represents. So if you're looking for another band to connect with, check out Dying Oath, because I feel like that would really fit in with, especially with what Decay brings.
Yeah, I've heard their music. I've never met them personally, but that's really cool to know that.
Yeah.
Just making more connections. Woo! Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So like when I was going through Decay personally myself, I did get a sense of that, where it's, a lot of us kind of like decaying on the inside, but it's just a lot, the people that, we connect with, even though if like we're kind of, two different people and things aren't going very well, we still want to, the best for people. We still want to find a way to help out, even in times where it seems like, things aren't going right. For myself specifically, I took it from more of like an actual relationship standpoint, because it went a lot more personal with me, because I looked at it as like the last moments in a dying relationship when it's kind of just decaying into nothing. And you can feel that specifically on the inside. You kind of try and show it on the outside, that everything's okay. But on the inside, both people are just hurting especially just by staying in this, because, you still want the best for people, but you're just not necessarily connecting in the same way. It's just, there's just some sort of misconnection that's kind of decaying through that. And it shows the moment when it's best to kind of just cut that loose at times and not really fear going into the unknown of being kind of on your own at times. It is scary, but it shows how kind of cutting out, certain decaying relationships, if it's personal, if it's toxic, whatever it might be the best thing in the long run.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that.
But again, it's really interesting to see, especially what you guys mean by the songs and how someone like me takes it, because we all take it in so many different ways. But especially when it comes to that core emotion of relationships and kind of wanting the best for something, but like that misconnection that's just not really working out at the moment, that's where the core of the song comes in. But it's all we go through personally. That's where it branches out to the specifics and how we all relate to it. But we all listen to it. You guys are playing it live. We're all in the crowd. We're all coming from different places, but we're all coming in the middle of that core emotion.
Yeah. And again, like that's my favorite part about, and thank you for sharing like that story.
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff that I like to learn and kind of hear about, because you never really know what someone is truly feeling or going through until you hear it. You know what I mean? But you'll never properly understand it. But it's very interesting to hear the alternate feelings or versions from, because like she wrote it for one way, but you could hear it in another way. And I think that's really cool about music in general.
Yeah, because the way that, especially Audrey, the way that I took it, where you wrote the lyrics, especially in that first half, it's kind of like looking at one person's perspective, and the second verse is looking at our own perspective of that situation as well. So you're getting that dichotomy between two different people just within the way that the verses are written lyrically.
Nice.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
it's very well worded.
I'll say, because even when I go deep in the songs, like I got if I can find the lyrics, I got them pulled up on one screen. I've got the song going on the other screen. I've got a Microsoft Word document on another. It's like my eyes are like just constantly going back and forth, like making all these different connections. It's like a robot noise, like nee.
Yeah, you're scanning all the codes at the same time.
Pretty much, it's like it could be like the T800 at this point, but that might not be the best idea. I'm not big enough. Like I'm not Arnold, so can't do it. But like, going into like the song as well, like diving deeper into it, the intro was something that no matter what way you take it, especially instrumentally, it just set the stage perfectly. So you guys were writing this intro, because it kind of has that, like, I kind of put it back as like a held back feel at the start, especially from the guitars. But then it does give an ominous feel to the song. Then there's this piano riff that kind of comes in. It brings a fuller emotion. Guitars and drums kind of come more melodically to bring in this fuller kind of like crescendo kind of style to really take us into the full intro. But it's just the way that it kind of has this held back feel to build up into it. And the piano, the way it is, it brings forward that emotion, that proper emotion that you need to relate to this song. It just puts you right in the headspace right away with how that lead in comes in. So, yeah.
Yeah, that dude, that whole thing, that came like way after we wrote the song.
Yeah.
That was
Really?
like the weird part. When we first wrote the song, it was kind of more like Linkin Park kind of sounding.
Yeah.
It actually started with a guitar buildup, and then it went into that like 3/4 like melodic sound, and it wasn't as dark when we wrote it in the demo. And like when we were doing post stuff and we were kind of like setting the tone for the vocals, we were like, let's kind of take it back, make it a little darker. We have a song called War that's on our second CD. We were trying to kind of outdo that song because that song kind of does a very similar but different feel. So we were kind of like trying to outdo that. It was really, really strange how it came together. And that piano part, that was originally written on guitar.
Really?
It was just like a down, bow, bow. It was like a little like guitar notes that were supposed to be in the background.
Yeah.
And we made them into piano. I don't know. It was really weird. The way it happened.
But in my mind, it was such a smart move to put the piano part on there again because of just the emotional connection that people have when they hear any sort of piano. It adds so much more to this deeper, this more kind of just intense emotional style. Because especially in rock and metal, anytime you hear the piano come in, you know you're gonna feel it, especially in your heart.
Yeah. Well, and especially the big decision, I guess, that influenced that is it's when we decided Decay should be a single.
Yeah.
When it was just a song, it was just a song. It was a jam. Lyrically, it was still emotional. It was still meaningful, but it's like, the vibe wasn't there. And it's like, when we were like, hey, this is, we ended up writing 20 tracks for Transcendence, and only 15 got finished. And we chose, out of those 15, we chose 11. And those 11, we were like, which ones are we going to do? Which ones are we going to finish? Well, for singles and stuff. And we really put a lot of time into that towards the back half of that process. So we decided we're just going to go full on single, very Breaking Benjamin heavy. It was the vibe on it. We wanted it, we wanted it heavy, man. We wanted it to be a vibe and emotional. And that's kind of how it came out, I guess. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, absolutely. So 2 things on that. One is Breaking Benjamin-esque with that heaviness. With the way the song is melodically built up, that is one hell of a comparison to make, and it's a very accurate comparison to make, especially bringing forth the emotion through this kind of a track with that. Second thing is what we talked about, really right at the beginning of the podcast, where during the pandemic, Ryan, you had so much time to really work with these things and try as many things as possible to really make sure that what you had would come out. I mean, take a look at what you said. The intro had a completely different feel, completely different sound to start out with, and you added towards the end. But what came out, especially how I looked at it, I mean, it sets the tone for the song perfectly. It adds that heavy emotion to it, no matter what way you look at it, in terms of kind of just a connection that's decaying, a relationship that's decaying. Whatever way you look at it, it's gonna bring forward that emotion within you. So it's the perfect placement. And again, it could come right at the end of the whole entire process, but better late than never.
Yeah, no, and again, that was one of the advantages we had, because a lot of this stuff was written. Some of the demos were written in 2019, and then in 2020 we didn't touch the stuff for a while. So we whipped out, let's check the files, what stuff we didn't touch, or that idea is a riff. Let's add more stuff to that. Let's add lyrics over that. Let's put the band into it. And it's like I said, I met up with Brian, my guitarist, twice a week for 9 months. We were just banging ideas out, banging stuff out. And then finally we were like, all right, we have a good kind of skeleton now to throw some meat on it, So I definitely, I'm really proud on how it came out, but it was definitely a big challenge, but everything happens for a reason,
Oh, absolutely. Because sometimes those biggest challenges produce the greatest result.
Yeah. It's always the harder stuff too. Cause I like her with the lyrics. Sometimes she's like, I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what vibe I'm going for. And then I'm like, it's not done yet. Trust me. It's going to be great. You know, like I know there's no backtrack or the drums aren't finished, but trust me, it's going to be fantastic. So,
oh, absolutely. Going a little bit more into Decay as well. The verses specifically at this point, because I do want to get to the chorus, and the chorus just kind of preceding this, the chorus, it was not gonna lie, it was the vocals that really blew my mind on this one. But when it came to the verses, it was more the instrumentals that really took it away for me, because what I looked at with the verses, you had that same melodic pacing. It kept up consistently. But the bass guitar was really taking more of the precedent with this slower, deeper build, especially in the the first half. But the second half comes in, the piano enters, the guitar is playing a little bit slower, yet higher notes for the top end. Even in the second half of the second verse, the guitars are melodically chugging along the back, so to add some diversity to it. But it's all with that build that really works out once again, because I love how it starts out with that deeper bass sound, because again, you're giving the bass guitar a little bit more of this prominence to it, but it has that deeper tone to it. It produces this deeper emotion. But then, of course, bringing the piano back in, it just really sets the tone for that emotion of Decay once again. And it connects so many different things through and through. It feels like, again, it's like the depth of the relationship or the struggle you might be going through to really open up to a relationship, because there is that lack of a connection. And the piano not being lost, it adds to the emotion of both sides of the argument here, whether it's from one person feeling decay or the other person in the relationship feeling decay. It hurts more in a way as the piano builds, but that's exactly what you need, in my opinion, on this track.
Yeah, dude, I'm so glad that you're so into it. Like, I love it.
Yeah.
Hey, like when I said I go deep into a track, and I'm like, I don't want to miss a single piece of it. It's just, there's going to be certain things that come out here. And I always I've been really diving deep in the music for I think 3 years up to this point, something like kind of the way I do it. Every single year, it seems like every song I do, it takes longer and longer, because I just keep going further and further into it. It's going to come a point in time where it's like, I'm going to end up trying to review a full album. It's going to take me 3 days to do it. It's because every song's going to take an hour, hour and a half of me just meticulously trying to understand every little bit of it.
Well, especially just on the topic of our song, we do a lot of layering. So you can listen to the song probably 100 times. You're going to find something new if you really dig in there,
Oh, absolutely. Get me a shovel, get me the pickaxe. I'm I'm going to go deep. I'm looking for fossils here at this point.
Might need some TNT, man.
Call AC/DC up. We're going to play that song while I literally try and blow the song wide open. Be kind of cool though if I get AC/DC to come here though, but that would probably be very, very, very expensive.
Yeah.
Not really kind of in the financial place to really make that happen. However, when it came to the chorus though, I do want to speak specifically to the vocals on this one, because it was the thing that really sold me on this song, specifically because when it comes to you, Audrey, it's the vocals has this fuller tone, this more melodic, in my opinion, melodic symphonic style to really play into the emotion of accepting what is in front of you, whether it be the end relationship or that we're all going through hardship, whatever it is, with the accenting piano helping make this a more powerful thing. However, it was the accenting heavier, sometimes unclean vocals that were in the background. And I say accenting because they were further drawn back to really complement the cleans that Audrey that you had in there. Again, the mix is lower on them to not overtake and have more of this subconscious feel. It feels like something else is kind of agreeing with us in a way, whether it's our subconscious mind or the other person in the kind of relationship, whether it's a friend relationship, intimate relationship, whatever it might be. However you look at it, the symphonic tone from Audrey really helps set the tone and lets kind of those unclean underlayerings really show the power that those vocals have in contrast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was when writing that, I was thinking of Breaking Benjamin. I was like, what would Breaking Benjamin do? And it was cleans with some screams in the background. That's what we're gonna do with some harmonies. Layer it up. It was just a total when I heard it at the bare bones, I was like, yeah, this is Breaking Benjamin. We're writing it we're writing as if we're Breaking Benjamin. Let's go.
Yeah, I think that has the most vocal layers on the album.
It does, yeah.
So because in that chorus, I'm the one screaming.
Yeah.
I'm also singing, and then Brian is doing harmonies, and he's got one other thing there.
Is he doing the octave?
Yeah, he's doing the octave as well. So you have 3 people. I think it's 4 to 5 tracks each.
Yeah.
To harmonize that sound. It's super weird. I told you. We got really weird with it.
If we wanted to be powerful.
Yeah, powerful, and we tried something new,
Yeah.
Yep, but by trying something new, especially with the way that it was done. It just brought out so much more of this power behind this song. And again, I love how everything works out in contrast with all the layers, because you have the uncleans and the heavier vocals that are in the background, but the way they're layered, the way they're mixed in, it's so much lower to the point where it adds so much more of a heavier bass. But through its contrast, Audrey, it lets your vocals soar so much more higher above them, where it's like the contrast against them, they're kind of fighting each other, but that contrast is proving to let both shine more fully. And it really lets us dive deeper into the track emotionally, because we're kind of able to hear both sides, whether it's from one person or other, or from yourself and your subconscious mind right within those vocal sets.
Absolutely.
So I got to ask, when it came to like the layering decision on that one, how'd you figure out the layering decision to like really make, Audrey, with your vocals be more in the forefront, having those unclean vocals and those heavier vocals so much more lower and kind of lesser on the volume mix? Because again, that was a huge reason why I believe this worked out so well.
So the original version, the screams were way louder.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah. And it was weird because I liked the song. I couldn't stand the chorus, and I didn't know why.
Yeah, that was a big problem for him, was the chorus.
Like everybody else was like, "Oh, it's good, man," and I'm like, something's bothering me, and it's in the background. And so like when Jake's our producer. When Jake and I were going back and forth, we phone call back and forth. We were trying to figure out what it was. And he goes, "Hey, I have an idea. I need you to trust me." And I was like, "All right, man, I'm going to trust you." And the next mix, I was like, "I don't know what you did, but I love it." And it was that simple volume knob, just turning it down a little bit.
Yeah. Because we definitely, it would have gave a completely different vibe if the screams were like more in the forefront, which is what usually when we mix the tracks, we always want like the harmonies or screams. We always want those kind of in the background to just complement my voice, because my cleans are always very powerful. So when it was like more to the forefront, it kind of sounded weird. You didn't get that emotional vibe that you get now. So kind of turning that down just a little bit, letting it complement everything in the background. Definitely after hearing that, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what we need. Like, that brings out that powerful tone. But then it's funny that you use like the other person, because I always love that. I always love the duality of songs. Like, it's not only me, but it's somebody else. So like hearing the screams like that, it's like that thing in the back of your mind, or that other person. That's such a good representative of it. So we want that in the background so that you can like hear the vocals, but then it's like, oh, there's something else in the background.
Yeah, it's lurking.
Yeah,
right?
that's like lurking in the background.
Yeah, it absolutely works out, especially the way that I took it and like the way that I related to one of the past relationships I had. It was somewhere it's like those cleans out in front reminded me of just like, wanting to potentially make this work and just wanting to work through this and like, okay, we can do this. But of course, that was those screams in the background, kind of like the voice in the back of my head saying, is it actually the right thing to do? Is it worth it? Is actually the right thing to do to split this off completely and go your separate ways, because that might be the best thing for you at this moment and best thing for her at this moment. It really spoke to me on that end. And then when it comes to kind of more of that, friend kind of thing, or just kind of trying to create this emotional connection to the point where with somebody else that you're either, closely connected with, or maybe very farly connected with, wherever it might be, that it kind of creates that connection where it's like, okay, I'm trying to reach out to you. It's like, but I'm still here. It's like, even though you might not be reaching out to me right now, it might not be connecting, I'm still here. So it's just that duality just focuses so much in on providing whatever way you look at the song, whatever connection you make with the song, that duality points to everything with those vocals. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm stuck with on that one. Like, why I think this is like, again, the most powerful part of the song. Because when I heard it, I was just like, this is it. This is it.
I like the way you're wording stuff.
Yeah. It's really awesome.
Oh, well, thank you. I really take the comment to heart, because it's something like when I go deep in these songs, like I really want to pull out as much as I can as possible, because of how powerful I see music and how powerful I know a lot of other people connect with music, whether they're as, more aware of it or not. But everyone connects with music that they love so emotionally. And again, like we were talking about earlier, when it comes to meanings, we all go through different things, but when we all relate to a song, it all boils down to this core emotion that we all connect with. So again, where I'm seeing things and where you're seeing things specifically might be completely different, but when we really kind of talk about them, we can see where each other is coming from a different perspective, all because we can relate to that core emotion that the song is portraying.
Yeah, sometimes it's definitely hard to put things into words, but you're doing that fantastic.
Better than we could sometimes.
I feel like I'm gonna have to like run like one of those like master classes or something. It's like, Kevin's increase your wordiness, and then I'd probably just ramble on for like an hour.
Dude, I could listen to it all day though.
All right, I'm gonna start another podcast, Kevin's increase your wordiness, and just ramble on about more music, of course, but because that's what I love to do. But just really going deep on some other wacky things.
Yes.
Hell yeah, dude.
That would be definitely kind of crazy go. But for all of you who've been listening, when it comes to Decay specifically, what you guys know, one thing I like to do, especially after done talking about song, is really kind of give you this overall summary of when I looked at it. Kind of more of that like summary press release style kind of thing to see how I would put it. So for Decay, I'm going to read exactly what I wrote because I always write this down. Never want to forget it. So I wrote, overall, no matter what way you take the song, its core message and theme surrounding disconnect between you and someone else really plays well into itself with its heavier alt metal style from the instrumentals. But the accenting piano helps build up the emotion in your head to let the chorus come at you full steam in terms of emotion of understanding that you are not alone in how you feel in that situation. The vocals from Audrey use a deeper symphonic style to accent the piano, and that accenting piano adds to the building of the emotion of disconnect. Her chorus vocals would work well on their own, but the addition of the uncleans to accent those show more of this understanding from the other side and congruence of it, whether it is your subconscious mind or the other person in the relationship. It gives us a melodic drive to not go into this time in life with fear, and there's a powerful emotion to portray in a song like this.
Wow. You're hired.
Yes! That was pretty much all these podcasts. It's me talking, you guys just basically trying to do, press release job pitches, I guess.
Hey, I'm into it. No, I love the way you worded that, dude. Like, seriously, like that means a lot to us that you're like the way you're taking things and putting it into words. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it as well, especially as the people that wrote this song, put the time and effort in the song, so you can see also personally, and for everyone else listening as well, you can see how these songs all can connect to them, how they can connect to me, and then while you're listening, what I'm hoping you guys are doing is making the connection to these songs yourselves as well, especially if you've already listened to them. If you haven't listened to them, especially if you haven't listened to Decay, I implore you, go listen to Decay. Well, right after we're done with this podcast, because you're going to, you're not going to want to miss the end of the podcast because, well, why would you want to miss the end? That's all I'm going to say about that. So as we kind of, wrap this up, I got one really more question about, one really more question. That's kind of a weird way to put it.
I mean, I'm into it though,
There goes my
Whatever.
increase my wordiness from here. Just, it's starting to sink. It's starting to sink. That's just the way you go.
Hey,
So-
it's getting late, bro. It's getting late.
Yeah. So we've talked about, a little bit when it comes to 2022. Again, Transcendence will be already out by the time this podcast releases, so make sure you go listen to the whole entire thing. And when it comes to 2022, we've talked about the fact you guys have some tours in the works. You guys have some stuff planned when it comes to getting out, playing live shows again. Just can't announce it yet because it's not official. Not going to make you announce it, but are there any other wacky, random surprises we should be looking out for in 2022?
New music.
Maybe.
More new music even after a new album? I'm into it.
Yeah. There's
Always
we may do, and you're gonna hear it first because we haven't told anybody. We may do a deluxe version because I told you there were 20 songs written, 15 were completely finished. We only gave you 11, so maybe you'll get some acoustics, maybe you'll get some alternate versions, maybe some brand new stuff you've never heard before. And during this crazy time, we were working on Transcendence. We also went and recorded with Justin from Miss May I.
Really?
Yeah, we did a whole CD with him. So some of that stuff, maybe.
Yikes, you guys have so much stuff just still in the back end from Transcendence and a whole nother CD that you recorded with Justin from Miss May I. There is so much stuff that's going to be thrown at us in 2022. I think the best thing to say about that is we don't know what we're going to get as fans from Bullet to the Heart, but one thing we can make sure of is we're going to want to make sure we keep up with them and follow them on anything we can, because when those surprises drop in 2022, new shows, maybe a deluxe edition of Transcendence, maybe some crazy new songs they wrote that they worked out with just for Miss May. You're not going to want to miss them.
Yeah,
You're
definitely follow us everywhere because we're in it. We're deep in it right now. So
Yes, we are.
Oh, well, I'm going to make sure that happens. So as we bring this podcast to a close, one thing I like to do at the end of these podcasts is give you guys a chance to say anything you want to say. Plug whatever you want to plug. Promote whatever you want to promote at the end. So, Audrey, Draven, floor is yours.
All right. Well, like we said, follow us. We got some surprises coming. Make sure you go on Facebook, join the Bloodline. That's what we like to call our fans. So if you're a Bullets to the Heart fan, you are automatically a part of the Bloodline. And everybody love each other. Let's spread the love. Stop spreading the hate.
yeah, Transcendence is also available everywhere. 11/19, everywhere streaming, music videos on YouTube. Got new merch. Merch will be available next year on tour, but also on our website right now. So you can get some of that on the road stuff right now if you go to our big cartel site.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Well, now it's time for me to end the podcast with not one, not two, but three very specific things. First thing is first, we just talked about the fact that you're not going to want to miss out on anything that Bolts of the Heart is going to be coming out with in 2022. New shows, maybe new music from, the stuff they recorded with Transcendence, maybe the stuff they recorded with just for Miss May. There's a lot of stuff you're not going to want to miss, and you want to be part of the Bloodline because, hell, there's so many other people that are going to be part of it. You're going to want to end up being like family. It's like a family that we got going here. So you're going to want to follow Bolts of the Heart on all social media platforms. You're going to want to check them out online. You want to buy some merch from, which I also implore you to do because why the hell not? And when it comes to Transcendence, you're going to want to listen to them. You're going to want to stream. You're going to want to download it, but I know what you guys are going to say. Kevin, just do what you normally do. Take all the links that you can find for the band, put labels on them, and put everything in the description of the podcast so that it's a one-click, one-stop shop for us to just find everything Bolt to the Heart so we don't have to search up on our own. And you're damn right I'm going to do that. So look at the description of the podcast, all of their links for social media, YouTube, where you can stream the album, where you can buy the album, where you can get some merch, where you can keep up with them. Everything is going to be down there for you. So you have no choice and no excuse to not get in and follow Bolt to the Heart. So, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now time for number 2. So, Audrey and Draven, when it comes to these podcasts, I always like to tend to make a promise to the artists having this podcast because I love having you guys on the podcast, and it always ends up like kind of like a thank you for being on the podcast. And I only do this to the artists that I absolutely enjoy having on the podcast. So this has happened 100% of the time. And you both have not broken this streak so far. So the promise to you both is this. This is not an if. This is not an if kind of a promise. If implies possibility of not happening. This is a when, because when implies it's going to happen. Time frame still to be determined. Reason being is because when I get to see Bolt Heart perform live for the first time, my promise to you both is this. First round's on me.
Hey.
Hey.
There you go.
And I tend to enjoy making good on my promises as well. So, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Nice. What do you drink?
I drink anything that's cold.
Sounds like Brian.
I'll say, well, Draven, I mean, like you asked, like I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm from the place where, beer flows like water. So beer is always, a go-to for me. Otherwise, when it comes to hard liquor, I'm always partial to tequila and gin. It is a very weird 3 things that I enjoy, but you know what? I stick with it.
He likes the tequila, man.
Tequila. It makes me social.
All right, I'll be at the bar. You guys will come up and be like, bartender, 5 tequila shots, please. All of a sudden, just like,
hell yeah, dude.
All of a sudden, I'm gonna see Audrey just like, yes. I'm gonna see Brian just like, yes. Draven's gonna be like,
and then hopefully Tom doesn't throw up. Oh.
If Tom's gonna throw up, we can always just give him like the placebo shot. Just like, okay, it's just tequila. It's actually water.
we give him a heart. That's from we did tequila shots with Psycho Stick.
Yeah, and
he drank the night before, so he wasn't really having it the morning of. You know what I mean?
He didn't fully go.
He didn't fully chuck back.
So he kind of choked on it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, if he so definitely needs it, we will get him the salt and a big slice of lime, to take care of
Poor
that.
Tom. Poor Tom. I love him.
Poor Tom, but hey, he's not here, so we can roast him.
Oh yeah. I like that mentality.
So Audrey and Draven, as we close out this podcast, I can nowhere in good conscience end this by saying goodbye for a couple of reasons. One, goodbye seems way, way, way too final. Like this is the end. Because no, this isn't the end. Because it can't be goodbye. I have a promise to keep to you guys to see you perform live in first round. I mean, we got these tequila shots. And as time goes on, if there's some more crazy stuff that ends up coming out, I might have to go back to Shauna and be like, hey, Shauna, can I get Bolts Heart back on the podcast? Because there's some crazy stuff that we got to talk about.
Hell yeah. Yes.
So I'd love to have you back on the podcast. So goodbye. Way, way, way too final. So I'm going to end this podcast the way I like to end these podcasts by saying, see you later.
Yes.
See you later.
Whoa, folks. That was my interview with Draven and Audrey from the band Bullets of the Heart. Again, Transcendence is out now, so go take a listen to it. You're going to want to follow along with Bullets of the Heart online to become part of the bloodline because, let's be honest. Let's be fully honest. They talk about some crazy, insane stuff they've got coming up for us in 2022. New live shows, possibly a deluxe album for Transcendence, possibly new music they wrote with just from Miss May I. There's so much that you could get into with this band and the family mentality behind it as well. You're going to want to be a part of it. So be sure to follow them on all their social media accounts. Be sure to check out their website, check out their merch. Be sure to check out Transcendence. Be sure to stream it, order it, buy it, help out the artists as well. And just follow along and become part of the bloodline because we did. That's why all the links to the description of the podcast for you to check out. Also check out the Chord Percussion podcast online as well. I know all our social media accounts say MSOT Rocks at the shooting of this episode, but as of January 1st, everything will be Chord Progression Podcast. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, along with the podcast, 5 Out Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Amazon. So links are all in the description of the podcast below. Please follow along with us. Tell your friends, tell your family, and if you're already following the podcast, can I say one thing to you guys? Thank you. Okay, I just want to do that like Bill Burr did. Turn your head and say something. Because it's kind of funny. Also, again, thank you sponsors, Phoenix Fitness and Custody Abuse for sponsoring this episode. Again, for their promo codes and the links to their websites, you check out the description of the podcast. They're right there for you. On that note, guys, I can't wait to have Bolt to the Heart back when they, come out with some new stuff. This was a fun one. I can't wait to not only have Audrey and Draven back, but bring Brian and Tom on as well. Let's make it happen. That's going to be for me, guys. Thank you for watching the Chord Progression Podcast. President of the City Rocks, recommend to thrive. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one of these episodes with a big, healthy, and hearty see ya!